You made the same journey that Wayne did, Everton to Manchester United, and you arrived at a time where he was in a little bit of turmoil. What was your understanding of the situation when you arrived?
Well, I knew that when I'd met Sir Alex, he told me, there could be some difficulties with Wayne. Wayne might want to leave, but there was nothing confirmed. But really, when the minute I get the word of the job, I made the thought of going round and seeing all the players. So I went round and saw lots of the senior players, and Wayne was probably the one I saw as much as any. Wayne came up to the house with Paul. I went to Wayne's house. We met again, and I think the big thing for me was to say to Wayne, I want you to be here. What do you want to do? I wasn't going to tell Wayne or Paul what they had to do, but I did know that the club were really keen to keep him. I do know that the club weren't really taking anything on about him leaving. And I'd also thought that Wayne had just gone off the boil a little bit. And I was more interested in Everton. I was the Everton manager. But when I was watching Wayne, I thought, you've just dropped off a little bit. You need to get back on and be the Wayne which I hoped and thought you would be. And it wasn't far away, but I just thought that he'd lost a wee bit of his aggression. He'd lost a wee bit of his, maybe his confidence behind it. He'd lost a wee bit of that. But we had a few meetings. The meetings were fine. As I said, I always had a good relationship with Wayne, and the conversations I had with Wayne and Paul were very good.
But was it important to you just to as you got there to try and make sure that Wayne stayed, not just for him but for yourself as well?
Yeah, but if Wayne had said to me, which at the time it looked as if Wayne was going to go, and he said, I want to go, and I says, fine Wayne, if that's what you want to do. I says, well, we'll work on it. But I says, I definitely don't want you to go. And I remember when the pre-season started, I said to Wayne, I says, look Wayne, whatever you fancy. I says, if you want to put it in and do it right, we're behind you. If you don't and you're not for it, I says we can train you with the reserves, we can do something else. He says, no, I'll be fine. I've got to say, he was unbelievable. He came back in great condition. He was probably as good as he had looked, and he trained really, really hard. And I've got to say, he was probably at the front of most things. And I don't know if he'd kept himself in great nick in the summer to be prepared, but he just came back and he looked, he was hungry, he's running, his work. And look, we tried to do a good job in Wayne as well, because we were desperate for Wayne to stay. He was too important. He's one of the stars of football. Why would we be even interested in talking about him going? So we wanted to try and do a good job behind the scenes and sort of make sure that he felt that he realised that he was wanted by us.
And just behind the scenes and in and around the dressing room, just kind of describe Wayne in that Manchester United dressing room as a 28-year-old senior pro compared to the kid that he had over Everton.
Well, he was much more mature, and he's obviously, he carried an aura about him because of what he'd done. He was as everybody knows, he's an England regular. He's a Manchester United regular, so he carried that, and he's known not just in our country, he's known worldwide. You talk about the players who are known worldwide. Wayne's up there with the best of them. So from that point of view, I found Wayne in the dressing room very good. He was influential, but I think when we first went into United, I think he had lost a bit of confidence. So I think that needed to be brought back. But the biggest day for me, for Wayne, was when we went to Swansea on the opening day of the season, and we won 4-1, I think, down there. And I think it was a day we had to see how the reaction was from the supporters. I remember we put Wayne on the bench, and he'd been injured a bit in pre-season. And the minute he went down to warm up, the crowd were chanting his name, they were clapping, they were cheering him. And I thought that was probably one of the biggest moments for Wayne, because I think he probably realised there, hey, this is fine, there's no problem here, everybody wants me. And so for me, maybe Wayne might tell you different, but for me, I felt that was a really big moment for Wayne.
It must be a real worry for a player in that situation. You just look what happened to Raheem Sterling the other day. You don't know which way the fans are going to go, but I guess hopefully someone like Wayne, he's got enough credit in the bank with years of service that obviously he did still mean that much to the fans.
Yeah, but he did. He was a top player. He really is. And you know, wherever Wayne was going to play, whether he'd played in midfield or whether he played wide or as what he's preferred as a centre forward, he was always going to be a big player. He would still get in an MD's team in any of those positions. So from that point of view, I think he needed to get back to playing up top, you know, off a striker, with a striker, or as the striker. And I think when he got back to those roles, he was always going to find himself back in amongst the goals. Because, I mean, one of the reasons, you know, we're even doing this is because he's goal scoring, and he's a great goal scorer. He really is.
What about the taking on of responsibility? He's now captain of Manchester United and captain of England. Was that something that surprised you, or something you could have always foreseen?
No. Well, when I left Manchester United, you know, the question was just probably the month or so before is, would Wayne become the next captain? Because, you know, things were moving on, things were changing. One or two people were leaving, and Wayne was the obvious choice. In fact, you know, there was other good choices. There was other good players there who could be considered, but I think Wayne, with his leadership, but also with the way he played, and I think as well he had the ability, Wayne, not just with his voice, but with his actions, could lead teams, and I think it was an obvious choice. And I think the England role for him as well is good because he's shown a great level of experience, maturity, and I do think that you know, it was the right call for Roy Hodgson. It was the right call for Louis van Gaal, and I'm sure if I'd still been in the role, it'd have been the same one for me.
Do you get to a certain point in your career as that kind of player where you just need the responsibility? You know, you talked about when you joined Manchester United. Wayne mentioned that Sir Alex said to him, you know, I'm seeing Welbeck as number 10 and RVP as number 9, and so Wayne was like, well, where does that leave me? Someone of his stature, because does he thrive on the responsibility of knowing he's the top dog?
Yeah, but I don't think he didn't need to be the top dog. Wayne just needed to be loved a bit, showing that hey, he's there. I don't think Wayne ever looked for any special treatment. In fact, that's probably one of the good things about him because he was a real footballer. Well, he wasn't in here saying, hey, I need pampered, I need to be wearing this jersey every week. He didn't. I think he understood, well, if it's competition, fine, I'll take it on. And I can only talk about my time at United. The minute I stepped foot in the door, the minute, you know, we got onto the training pitch, Wayne was training every day as if it was his last. He really was. He was giving it his all. And he done great for me, I've got to say. He was one of the players who really, really impressed me and also made a big impact for me as well.
Was that important to you, given the ups and downs of your years, you know, the previous years and the Everton time and everything?
No, it wasn't any more important. I needed everybody to be like that at United, but at Everton, the time with Wayne was great, and my time at Everton was very good. So to have Wayne firing was important because he was probably the most talked about British player. So to have the most talked about British player, which I did have when I was at Everton, and then to go back and have him again at Manchester United. So what you want is you want that player playing well, you want him doing well, you want to be able to say good things about him and how important he is to everybody. And Wayne was really important to me at Everton, as I've already said, but he was massively important to me in my short time at Manchester United.
Great. I've just got a few more questions, just kind of overviews of Wayne's career and talking about the England context as well.
Okay.
So some people would actually suggest that because of the talent that he possesses and the way he exploded onto the scene, that he hasn't actually fulfilled his career in the way that he might have done, which seems crazy, but many people have said that. How would you sum up Wayne's career, the successes?
Well, I find that hard. The caps, the goals, the clubs, and near enough his career's been all at Everton, short part at Everton, main part at Manchester United. So, you know, Wayne has done everything he possibly could in this country. He's been exceptional. He really has been. His goals, I mean, I think everything he's done. As I said, I think he's been in this era, you know, probably after David Beckham, he's been the most talked about footballer I can remember, sort of in the time I've been around. So he's been been exceptional. I don't think he could have done much more. I think he's played in some really, really good teams. He's played some very good players. Unfortunately, England haven't really been able to get a level of success which maybe the public have always looked for, maybe the media have looked for. And Wayne being the one who's talked about more is probably been the one who's maybe had to take a little bit of criticism for that over the years.
And it's maybe because when he burst on the scene at Euro 2004, everyone was thinking, well, this is it.
Yeah. No, they did, and it surprises me. Of course there's special talents. We've got Messi's and Ronaldo's of this world. But Wayne's in a group of players which are elite players who could play for any clubs, could play for any countries. But even those elite players need good players around them. They need the right team, they need the right environments to be successful. So I think Wayne's been very fortunate that he's played under some great managers, with some great players, and he's but deservedly so, because he's one of the elite players in the planet, really.
He's still at heart that street footballer. Definitely,
that's what he is. He's one of the dying breed. I don't know if there's many left. I always used to say, where are the street footballers? And Wayne was the last one. It used to be a great example, because Wayne played for Everton and then went back and would be kicking the ball around the streets with his pals. And I'd be getting told when I came in the next day, I'd be going mad. Rooney's been out playing in the streets again with his pals. I say, he's just played. And you think now about how we're overprotective of the kids, and we're saying you play too much football. Wayne had been playing in the Premier League and then back for a kick around with his pals in the street. Now, he wasn't out having a full game or that. He might have been keeping the ball up with his pals, but that's what he'd done. And that's why he probably is as grounded as he is. And I don't think he's ever got away and carried away with himself, because I think his background has kept him very level.
He told us an amazing story about after that Arsenal goal. Mm-hmm. He went off and he was kicking around with the ball with his mates while the rest of the team were out celebrating in the town. Yeah, no, and I probably got a phone call telling me about it as well. But everybody talks about the Arsenal goal, but I'd need to say the goal that I remember Wayne for more is the goal against Leeds United at Ellen Road. Everton, I don't think had beaten Leeds United for can't remember exactly how long. And Leeds had been a great team, and we're on dropping a little bit, and we went to Leeds and we beat them 1-0, and Wayne scored the goal, and it was in front of the Everton supporters, and there's a great picture of Wayne celebrating, and actually I've still got it in the house, and I got Wayne to sign it. I don't know how many years ago it is now, but so that goal is probably the goal. Everybody talks about the Arsenal goal, but if you get a chance in the BBC, please show the goal against Leeds. It was a great goal, and and I sort of remembered that as much as anything. We'll definitely be showing that.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, David.
Cheers. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Good.
Ta.